Welcome to the Jones Zone, a podcast by Darryl and JJ Jones.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Jones Zone, where we look at everything involving real estate. Today, our guest is Mike Luna. He's been a heating and air conditioner. What are you? You like that introduction, huh, Mike? Good. Tell me what you are. Go ahead, Mike. I won't even describe it.
I'm a licensed plumbing and heating guy. Own my own business, 25 years in business, 36 years experience.
Awesome. Well, Mike's been a tremendous help with me, my clients, and is just phenomenal. His work is tremendous, and he's just an expert. And I thought, well, this is someone I need to have on this show because he's extended the life of my heating and air. He's great with. He's just phenomenal. So I wanted to go ahead and break into this. I guess we'll have to edit this a little bit. I'm rambling too much.
Am I making you nervous here, Darryl?
Yes, you do. Could you put your pants back on for me?
Oh, my gosh. You're afraid of the size? Is that what it is?
Oh, goodness. Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to. Okay.
Beep.
So, Mike, thanks again for joining us. This is going to be great. I just, after the advice you've given me to extend the life of my heating and air and my other home appliances and everything, I just, like I said, I got to have you on the phone. So let me ask you this. We'll break right into the heating and air system service. How often should a person service their air conditioner, for example, to extend the life? And what is the lifespan of an air conditioning unit?
The lifespan, first of all, it varies on the install, who put it together, how they prepped everything, how they designed everything, duct design being correct, filters being changed, properly charged, properly evacuated when it was built. All that plays into longevity and how you run it. Like, say, if you lived in Brea, you're not going to run your air conditioner as hard as you would like in Corona where I live. Right. So, and I would say with all my experience, probably I'd say twice a year, have it checked in the spring, which people will call me in the middle of June and say my air conditioner is not working. They barely turn it on, or in March. You should get it checked like in February, go through. And then for heating, get it inspected probably in the fall, right around the end of September.
And what does inspected mean? What exactly do you? So, for example, I come out. I guess it'll be based on what they tell you what the problem is. But let's say there's no problem. They just want maintenance. What does that involve? What is maintenance on an air conditioner? Changing the filter?
On the air conditioning or the heating unit? What do you want to? Okay. Well, on the air conditioning unit, you want to check the charge. You want to check the filters. You check the contactor, which is a switch on the condenser. You check the fan motor to see if there's play in the bearing outside. You test your capacitor. Check for overheating on the wiring. Check for cleanliness on the coil. All these factors play into longevity and performance.
And then what about the heating system?
The heating, you go through, you check, you fire it up, you check manifold pressure on the gas valve. You check the burners to make sure they're burning the correct color. You check for calcification, corrosion, test the pressure switches, the inducer motors, the fan motor that sucks out the carbon monoxide. You make sure that's not overheating. You check the blower in the furnace for play in the bearing, overheating. You check the capacitors. You check the circuit boards to see if there's any discoloration. All those things of that nature.
And so let's say a person has the same exact setup in terms of you're talking about who installs it and how it's installed. Let's say it's perfectly the same. And they don't maintenance as well as you would recommend twice a year. For example, let's say they maintenance it once every 5 years or only when something goes wrong. What would be, that unit would last how many years? And then if it was maintenance properly or taken care of properly, how many years more would you get out of it? That make sense?
I would say anywhere from 5 to 10, depending on the usage, right? I mean, it's like a car.
All the same usage, all the same maintenance, usage. Not maintenance.
Well, everything plays in a factor, right? Like if you don't change the oil in your car, the motor's not going to last longer. So same thing with an air filter. The minute the air filter starts getting dirty, the unit will start running rich. The unit will run longer. You're not moving the proper amount of air. So let's say, for example, the filter starts to get dirty. It'll run an hour a day longer in the summertime, maybe 2 hours. Well, that's going to be more energy usage. So say your bill's $200 a month, now it's going to be $350 a month, all for a $10 filter. And what that does, it causes the unit to run rich, meaning it runs a little bit too cold, and the air conditioning has oil return. So when the refrigerant's too rich, it doesn't return the oil as good. You get refrigerant coming back, and it causes premature failure on the bearings of the compressor.
And typically when you go out to do these annual or twice a year checkups and maintenance, you already said this. You said you would do the heater in the fall and the AC in the summer, or excuse me, in the spring. But you can do them both at the same time.
Not really, because you want it to be a little cooler when you run the heater. Okay. And you don't want to be checking the air conditioner when the ambient air temperature is cold outside. You want some heat because you want to see how it's responding. It's very hard to get a proper charge on an air conditioner when it's 60 degrees outside. You can do it, but you want it to be under a load to see how it's performing.
That makes sense. What are the signs that indicate the HVAC system would need repair or replacement?
Noise. If it's noisy, you notice that the house is not cooling or dehumidifying properly. How I can compare it is air conditioning is conditioning the air. What that means is you're removing moisture. So like a refrigerator, you open the refrigerator, it's wet, right? The refrigerator is not designed to dehumidify the food. It's meant to keep it hydrated. But over time, if you leave it in the fridge, it gets dehydrated no matter what over time. Air conditioning, you could be, for example, 90 degrees in the desert, and if your relative humidity is low, you're comfortable. If you're in Brea and it's 75 degrees and your RH, relative humidity, is high, you're sweating.
Mike, tell us how can our listeners improve the energy efficiency in their home, their HVAC system, upgrades, etc. What other than you got the annual maintenance or twice a year maintenance, or is that enough?
A couple of things you can do. Changing the filters periodically, like I discussed earlier.
Twice a year.
Minimum twice a year. If you use it more, check them. The minute it starts to get dirty, the air conditioner is going to run longer because it's restricting airflow. The other thing is I recommend switching over to a Bluetooth digital thermostat, where you can actually see what's going on in your home if you're not there on a hot day, 100-degree day. You don't need to have the air on. You just turn it on 2 hours before you get home on your phone. And by the time you get home, it's cooler.
Hey, speaking of that, how are the whole house fans? I've got people that have those, and they claim to like them a lot because it sucks out all the hot air.
It's a 50-50 on
just to start. I mean, in other words, when you come home to 110-degree home on those rare hot days here, and you can maybe just turn on that whole house fan for 20 minutes and then turn on the air, or both, whatever. It would help, wouldn't it?
It's a personal preference, and I'll give you two scenarios on that. About 15 years ago, it was a pretty new home in Corona, 3,000 square foot home, and the call came in. 4 companies went out. Air conditioning system, two air conditioning upstairs and downstairs, right? And the call was, the house just doesn't seem to get cool. And they told me that I need to replace both air conditioners, and each one's going to cost me $15,000 each, and they're only 3 years old. So I went out there. I was inspecting everything for broken ducts in the attic, anything torn, refrigerant charge, air leaks, whatever. And I walk down the hall, and I feel this humid, hot air coming from the ceiling. I look up, and there's a whole house fan. What that is there's good and bad to the whole house fan, like you discussed earlier. Yes, you can suck out the heat instantaneously for a few minutes, but you're bringing in, if you have allergies, you're bringing in pollen and dust, first of all. Secondly, when you run the air, your house is at a negative pressure. So those louvers in the ceiling, they're not insulated or sealed. So when you turn on the air, you're pulling 130, 140-degree air from the attic on a 100-degree day. So the air conditioner's fighting with it. So what I tell people, at night if it's cool, open it up, turn on the fan, suck out the heat. But if you like your humidity low, you got to run the air conditioner because that's pulling air out. It all depends on someone's comfort, right? So some people swear by them. Some people cannot stand them. Some people take them out of their home. So it's personal preference. You're going to get a lot of dust in the attic when you run a whole house fan because it's pulling outside air in.
Right. Well, I mean, and here I'll advertise my own lack of knowledge on this specific subject as far as the technicality of air conditioning. What about the air? The air, I mean, why wouldn't the air bring in that outside, the air conditioner, central air, also bring in that same air? Why is it different?
You mean with the whole house fan bringing?
Bring in the dirty air or whatever you want to call it.
Well, no, the air conditioner is designed to recirculate the air in the home. It's not bringing in outside air. On commercial units, they do bring in a certain amount of fresh air makeup to keep for sanitary reasons and things of that nature.
Okay, well that's some good information. Now let's delve into plumbing because you do plumbing too. I think a lot of people may not realize this. I know I did years and years and years ago that heating and air folks and gas lines, for example, people typically think of plumbing as water lines, but you also deal with gas lines, heating and air, and plumbing. They're obviously very, very well related. What tips can you give us on plumbing? Are there any things that we can do to extend the lifespan of our plumbing fixtures or plumbing?
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. Water has minerals, which is basically sand. So if the water pressure in the house isn't regulated, you're basically sandblasting your pipes. And so
that's a good way to think of it because that's you just put a really good vision into my mind when you see that sand getting up against those pipes after day after day after week after week after month after month.
Yeah, and I see it all the time. So just say, for example, when I moved to Corona in '97, my house was new. I put a filtration system on it, water softening system. I still have the original shower valves 20 some odd years later that I've never replaced the cartridges. I've never had plumbing issues. And then I see the neighbor's house, 2 houses down. 2 weeks ago, I went and replaced the shower valve. Well, they put already 3 water heaters in, and I'm seeing all these plumbing problems, right? Water has a lot of minerals. Again, it's basically how I describe it to people. It's sandblasting. Back when we were growing up as kids, we had water towers. So the water was coming in fed off gravity, right? Those big water towers in the 70s. Well, now everything is modernized. We're getting high-pressure water pumps. So water pressure is increased to the house. So that's why you're seeing a lot of failures. You got to put pressure regulators on the houses and things of that nature to keep the water pressure down because all the new fixtures are not built like they were in the 70s. Thick brass, everything's plastic. And even your washing machines, the valves inside that turn on and off, right? They're all plastic. So if your water pressure is running at 100 PSI, everything's going to start failing prematurely, even your plumbing. So I personally like to, when I went to school to learn all this stuff, I went to Cyprus to study engineering and plumbing design. They wanted us to set the water pressure at the time between 60 and 70 PSI. Well, I took it into my own hands and started setting it at 50. And the reason why I did that is because water fixtures were using less water. So like say, for example, a toilet uses 1.0 GPMs, gallons per minute, per flush, right? Well, back in the day when we were kids, there were 5 gallons per flush.
Right.
Shower heads were at 2 to 3 gallons per minute growing up. That means coming out of the shower head, right? Now they're at 1.5. So do we really need 60 to 70 PSI to feed those fixtures? No. So the way I'm doing it is I'm reducing pressure because those fixtures are using less water. You need less water pressure. It puts less stress on the plumbing.
That makes sense. It's funny when you had said that, it came to mind with you lower the water pressure and you get in the shower and it's just dripping from the shower head. In other words, is there a way to lower that pressure and not have such a, people I think like a robust, strong shower. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
Or do you just kind of have to go, no, look, reduce the shower. You're going to reduce the water pressure and you're just going to have a little bit lighter pressure on your showers.
Well, all the fixtures have restrictors in them. So some people take them out. They pop the restrictors out of the shower heads and you get more volume. you could set the water pressure at 60, and if the shower head has a restrictor, it's not going to come out harder or the velocity stronger. They usually take the restrictors out so they can get more volume. Oh. And that's the way they design it. Because
have you taken a lot of restrictors out for people? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, is there?
There isn't, but everybody's got a personal preference. Me personally, once in a while I'll get a celebrity that wants it removed, but I can't tell you the celebrities' names because I keep everything confidential.
Oh, that's very important. I'm sure big stars. Elton John, Mick Jagger. Oh, I guess I'm dating myself, aren't I? Speaking of that, it's funny. One of the things I'll also made me think of you as a guest was when you went out to a client's house, and you shot me the video of that. I think it was a water heater. It was red hot. It was a tankless water heater. That client was me, remember? And it was red hot. I couldn't believe it. It scared the heck out of me because what was going on there with that tankless water heater? Or is that super common or no? Just installed wrong?
I see a lot of things that are installed wrong in the field. Before I get to the subject you're talking about, I'm going to describe another one so you can get an idea. I went on a call and I cover all of Orange County and all of Corona, first of all. I went on a call in Anaheim Hills. It was a friend of mine. His daughter had just bought in a house, like a $1.5 million house, right? And they were having a lot of plumbing issues, and he had someone else come out, and I went and diagnosed it. I went up in the attic, and they had the tankless water heater mounted in the attic. And again, they just bought the house 2-3 months before, and they're having all these issues. Well, there's two types of tankless water heaters. There's the ones that have the venting where you put the vents going out to the roof or the side of the house. Then you have the ones that you can mount on the house that are direct vent that spit the carbon monoxide out the side. Well, this was a direct vent, and they were venting all the carbon monoxide in the house. And I go, your daughter could have died and her kids. And
so you use a lot of scare tactics. I'm
no,
just kidding.
that was
joking.
that was a God honest truth on that part. Someone went out and it was totally installed wrong, and the inspector didn't catch that.
How did you catch? You have a CO2, something that measures CO2?
Well, no, I just look at it and it was installed improperly. It's a direct vent unit, right? Which means that, like, say they have outdoor units with no venting, you can put outside, and they put an outdoor unit in the attic with no venting to push the carbon monoxide or bring fresh air makeup in there. So it was installed wrong. That was I can name thousands of scenarios over the years where I see things like that.
Hold on. How much time do we have left? I'm just joking. All right. Just maybe half a thousand.
But the particular situation we're talking about where I sent you that video, so you could see what was going on.
Yeah, that thing was red hot.
Yeah, and like 4 plumbers came out from what I was told. And I opened it up, and I was like, this is done. This whole thing's installed wrong. The venting was done wrong. The copper piping was done wrong. There was no pressure regulator.
I want to describe to our listeners what we saw. It was literally red hot metal, right? That burning, that glow that you showed me. That was the metal heated up so high and so hot that it was like a bright red.
Kind of like orange. You getting a welding torch and it was about to fail.
That was scary.
So that was absolutely. And the client wanted me to fix it. And I said, I'm not going to fix it. We're going to replace it. So, but I get a lot of people doing that. I won't fix things that were installed properly because then, I'm liable. So I just tell them we got to replace it. Then you have a warranty. It's under my license and it's done properly.
Another thing, I think not only you, but another heating and air guy told me, 30 years ago or so, I think, which I think is a really good advice was he talked about, and you talked about how there are certain companies, heating and air, that come out I think you called them their sales reps. They're not heating and air guys. In other words, is it very common for companies to just suggest, hey, you need a new heating and air, you need a whole unit? I guess that's why you told me that story about the people that had been told they needed new, where actually it was fixable. Do our listeners have to be kind of cautious of that?
Absolutely. Absolutely, you got to be cautious. They're the big companies. They hire salesmen, Then you get technicians that work on commission, and they come out, and they'll tell you. I'm not naming any companies, right? But I'm just saying the practices are, you need a new heating and air conditioning unit. It's outdated. Well, anything can be outdated in a few years. You could buy that iPad you have. Next year it's going to be outdated, but you still probably got 7 years of usage out of it. So I warn people, especially the elderly, is what I see getting taken advantage of. People in retirement, they come out and they say, "Oh, it's going to be $30,000 to replace your air conditioner." And I'll go out there, it's a $500 motor, and then they're up and running. My motto is I fix what others can't, and if I can fix it, I'll fix it. I'm not going to recommend replacement unless it is like the furnace is totally corroded or the air conditioner is
unsafe.
That's right.
So, Mike, tell us a little bit more. What are the most common causes of plumbing leaks, and how can one prevent those leaks?
Common causes of plumbing leaks are usually the water nowadays. They put a lot of chemicals, a lot of chlorine.
So that causes wear and tear on the pipes, is what you're saying?
Well, it makes it acidic, even though the pH could be high. And then, high pressure with the minerals sandblasting the pipes. So I recommend, if people don't want to spend money on a water softening system, put a sediment filter on the main coming in. You change that thing once or twice a year, and that'll pick up the grit. Or you could put a charcoal filter in there too, which will neutralize the chlorine, because chlorine causes a lot of illnesses. You take a shower and people don't realize. I'll give you an example. My daughter had asthma as a kid. She's 4 years old. She'd get in the shower and she'd start coughing. Well, trials and tribulation, chlorine affects your respiratory. So when the shower steams, you're breathing in that chlorine that's in the water. So the minute I changed the filters and upgraded everything in my own home, her asthma, cough, and breathing problems went away.
Wow, because of the water.
The chlorine, filter. Yeah. So I've got chlorine filtration on my house. I got a water softening system. The minerals are good for plants and things like that. But when it comes to your skin, the high mineral content, the chemicals, your skin is an organ, so everything absorbs through your skin.
And what do you see? I mean, is the best way to get that checked is just to have someone like yourself come out to the house, or is there a lab that you can send a water sample to that they will? Well, how do you determine that?
You could do both that you just said, but everywhere in the United States they put chlorine in the water, right? So it's to kill bacteria, viruses, and things like that, to help keep it clean. Yeah. But I recommend to put filtration on your house no matter what. It's good safety down the road. It's going to protect you and your family. It's going to protect your plumbing. You're investing in yourself and your home.
Tell me a little bit more, because I've heard in the recent years, it was always copper was always the go-to. Everybody, you got copper plumbing? You got copper plumbing? But now you have, what is it called? PEX?
PEX.
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 Now, why is that better than copper? Or is it better than copper?
Well, there's opinions on that. Okay, PEX came out in the early 2000s, and I've been putting it in for years. I've never had issues. What I like about PEX is you don't have that many joints. You could have a 50-foot piece of pipe and two connections on one end, so chances of leaks are at two ends. Versus copper, you got to solder. Now we got even press fittings where we press the copper fittings. And that's due to the carbon issue, because they don't want us to solder and braze as much anymore. So everything's going over to modern technology. Copper is actually good for you. So a lot of people are deficient in copper. So,
but I mean, as far as the pipe and the integrity of the long-lasting plumbing.
Well, PEX is.
So you're indifferent?
There is. PEX has a 100-year warranty on the failure through Uponor, the manufacturer that makes it. I've seen copper plumbing go leak-free for 80 years.
And that's true. And I think we spoke about this before, about how because of the way they're treating the water is now become harmful to copper plumbing. Is that
all plumbing? It's got a lot of chemicals. They put a lot of chemicals to sanitize and keep it clean. Chlorine is an oxidator, so anything that oxidates is going to cause deterioration over long term.
So And how do we improve the water pressure? That just has to be done by someone like yourself, a plumber.
Well, like say my mom's house in Brea.
Yeah.
There's no regulator. The water pressure's at 50, so I didn't have to put a regulator on there. But if the water pressure exceeds 60, 70, 80, then, I've gone on homes.
But a plumber needs to do that.
Yeah. You want a licensed plumber to do it. You don't want a handyman, because I take pictures of the water pressure when I go out, and I put regulators and set things. That way, if there's an insurance claim, the house floods, they don't, with all the stuff going on in California with the insurance companies, they can come out and say, hey, well, your house flooded because your water pressure was at 100 PSI and you didn't get it checked once a year. You didn't read the fine print in your homeowner's insurance. You didn't. I mean, we can get into a lot of factors right now.
You're telling me a story of a client that you had, I think, in South County who had just had a little leak, but after a week, a pin drop, or maybe it wasn't a little leak. Tell me, do you remember the story I'm telling you?
Yeah, my sister. Okay. We talked about it about a year ago. Her house in San Juan, they left to go eat, and they came home, and the whole house flooded. 2-story home. They came home, and the whole thing was completely waterlogged.
In just a couple hours?
Probably less than that.
Oh, my
They just
goodness.
went to eat and came back, and what had happened was the toilet line, the flex line going to the toilet, the plastic that screws onto the toilet, it snapped. And it was an original water line. Her house was built in 97, so this was about 15, 20 years old. And then I did a water pressure. She called me in the middle of the night, did a water pressure test, went out there, and the water pressure was about 130. So insurance covered everything, but now insurance companies are getting so strict, I'm seeing a lot of claims denied over technicalities. Like, say, for example, you're supposed to drain and service your water heater once a year to remove the sediment. Well, let's assume the newer houses have the water heaters in the garage. Let's assume it's an older home where you have the water heater in the kitchen in the hallway, and it bursts, floods your whole house. They could say, well, did you get the thing drained every year? You're supposed to get it drained. That's what the fine print says. And you're supposed to get it maintenance, right? That's what the fine print says on your homeowner's insurance.
Right.
They could walk off the claim, and your house has $100,000 of water damage.
And that's something you do when you talk about those maintenance, annual maintenances with the heating and air. But also the same thing is true with the plumbing. So do you provide that service? In other words, people call you up and say, hey, look, so, it's the first of the year, I'd like to have everything checked. You come over and check, and you go and check all those things that you just mentioned, for example.
I check them if they want me to, or I'll make suggestions.
Well, yeah, if they ask you to.
Right.
Is that common, or do you just tell them how to check it themselves?
No.
Oh.
Because if they check it themselves, the insurance company is going to say, well, who are you? You're not qualified. You're not licensed. Well, how do we know you're telling us the truth?
To be safe, let's have a licensed plumber.
With my reputation, I'm A+ rated through the Better Business Bureau. There's been times where I take on insurance companies and fight for my clients and get them their claims. Because I've told them I've got 35 years experience. I'm A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau.
That's interesting because I don't think you ever got an A+ before that.
You're right. I didn't.
Me neither. What can I tell you? Now here's something that's affecting an enormous number of people in Orange County. Mm-hmm. How do you prevent pipes from freezing? I'm just kidding. It's a good question because I think people will want to know that.
Actually, I got a great response to that.
Good.
I have a client in Corona that actually lives about 2 miles from me. It's an older 1970s home, and it's one of those homes with the flat roofs. It kind of looks like a mission home, but there's no apex roof. It's just a flat roof. Well, years ago they had the copper pump. Even probably before I started my business, years ago they had the house re-copper piped, and they put the pipes on top of the roof. So, I mean, we don't freeze out here, but there are certain times of the year where it'll get to like 30, 38, 35 degrees.
Well, let's say in Big Bear. Someone has,
Oh,
it gets
there
cold.
you go. I like how you switch the subject. Beautiful.
No, it's about frozen pipes or preventing frozen pipes.
Yeah, usually the frozen pipes are buried in the ground, to prevent frost and freezing, and then they'll come in underneath the house. If it's a vacation home, you turn the water off before you leave. If you live there, then they bury all the lines and they come up in through the house, or they'll have recirc pumps where they recirculate the hot water around the pipes.
On that note about turning off the water, because I've been told, and that's why I'm going to ask you, is do you also, though, if the water's been turned off for too long, I thought that was not good for your house because seals and things get dried up or gaskets and things of that nature. Is that false thinking on my part?
That's false thinking. Yeah, that would be air conditioning in a car where you got to turn it on to lubricate the seal.
Well, that's why you're here, man.
It's a petroleum thing, right? But in a house, there's no it's water. So just say you turn the water off, you're going to have pressure in the house.
But turning the water off for 6 months is not going to harm the plumbing.
No,
I mean the valves or the gaskets or whatever. Okay.
No,
great.
but
Good
when
to
you
know.
do turn it back on, you want to open a couple water fixtures and turn the water valve off on slow, because if you turn it on real fast, you'll create a hammer. It could pop a water heater or even pop a copper pipe or a fitting, because it's a hydraulic effect.
So forgive me, because you were talking about pipes being on the roof in Corona, and I interrupted you. What? Tell me more about what the end of that story.
Okay, well, call came in, had a water leak on the roof, and the pipes freezed in Corona, and they were copper pipes. So when they freeze, water will expand. It's like putting a water bottle or a beer or a Coke in the fridge. And if you leave it there, what's it going to do? It's going to pop. So same thing with the plumbing. The water will expand and pop the pipes. A solution is to insulate the pipes. So we can come in with insulation and insulate the pipes. You can even put strip heat, where you wrap the pipes with like this wire and it keeps it warm in the middle of the night. There's lots of things you can do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, I've heard about this where they shoot something into the current plumbing to make it better. And forgive me for not remembering what that's called. Is this making sense to you at all? For some kind of coating or something like that? Or they push it through the plumbing to a lining or something like that?
Are you talking about sewer lines or water lines?
Water. I don't know what I'm talking about. Actually, I'm guessing water lines.
Okay.
I think is
Well,
what I'm talking
there's
about.
there's two things you can go. They have a new technology where they do an epoxy coating on the plumbing, like for slab leaks.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yes.
Slab leaks are where they've ran the copper pipes underneath the cement slab,
Right.
and that's actually a specialty of mine. They can come in and recoat them. I don't recommend it because I've seen it done on a couple of houses in the past, and they still had the failure they didn't take. So what I do is I leak locate, find the line that's leaking, do a pressure test, and then I do a reroute. What that means is I take the water line, hot or cold, and I reroute it through the drywall of the ceiling. I don't jackhammer or damage the integrity of the foundation or the footing of the house.
Right. So there's that, because that seems like such a great solution if it was true. In other words, if someone could just come over there and run the
epoxy
coating,
through the
pipes.
But another thing you got to look at, is that epoxy coating toxic? I don't know.
Yeah, of course.
If it's got VOCs and things of that nature.
Don't they make non-toxic
I don't
coatings?
know. I couldn't tell you that, but I can tell you that I've done houses where I got to come out and repipe, and they've had the epoxy coating and it didn't work. And the reason why is, like we discussed earlier, the copper pipes, there's two types of copper they use, right? There's type M and type L. Type L is a thicker, heavier duty grade, and type M copper is used more for drains and venting, right? So it's thinner. When I do repipes in copper, I use type L, the commercial grade. It's a little bit thicker.
That's solid. That's going to last for a long time.
Probably so. Some of the houses I've seen 80 years and the copper's not leaking, but people underbid jobs, clients don't know what they're getting. And on all my repipes, like say, for example, that water heater we just talked about, where it was glowing in the attic, there was a lot of stuff done wrong in the attic. And the 6 feet of piping that I refabbed, everything was type L. And
that's the cheap stuff.
Type L is the good copper.
Oh, you're saying that what you put installed.
What I put in is type L.
Right.
I use Type M for drains, like relief lines, because you don't need the super expensive thick copper for drains and things because it's not under high pressure.
Right.
But for under high pressure water systems, I use all Type L. Some companies will come out and you'll go, well, why is this so much cheaper than you, Mike? Well, I'm using Type L copper. It's thicker, more expensive.
It'll last longer.
And I'm using ProPress fittings, which are even thicker too, the copper fittings where you ProPress instead of solder. Everything I use is all high-grade materials, the best that I can provide for the customer, and I try to provide USA-made products. So it's going to cost more.
But it's going to end up in the long run, it's going to cost less.
Well, yeah, because say, for example, if I sell you a water heater, I sell Bradford White, a tanked water heater. They're USA-made. One of the hubs is in Corona where I get all the parts. I'm not going to get the parts from China. You don't have to wait 2 weeks to get stuff sometimes. So I try to sell everything that's made here for availability and reliability.
So are there any plumbing fixtures or appliances that can help conserve water?
All of them do nowadays.
Yeah,
there's regulations because of the drought. You're going to get, say, water faucets. They're running at 1 GPM, 1 gallon per minute. The lap faucets in the bathroom, shower heads run at 1 gallon per minute or 1.5. Everything is regulated. So it's not like you go buy it and it's already
the way it's
federally regulated. So it's.
Well, I'm waiting for, because I know that our water bills got increased because of lack of water, and I have a theory here.
Really?
I have a guess.
I didn't know that.
No, a few months back.
It got increased from lack of water?
Well, no, we were in a drought.
Right.
It's been on the news. You've seen it, right?
But I'm saying you're from not using the water or lack of not enough water?
No, just the water company saying we're in a drought.
Right.
And water prices went up. They raised the prices to deter people from using too much water. But now, boy, we're pretty full now. We should be at least. I'm guessing they're going to say we need more money to manage the extra water.
I agree because I remember back in grade school, we were in a drought, maybe junior high school, and the water rates went up. And I'm like, I remember hearing my dad go, "Oh, now that we have floods and we're not in a drought anymore, are they going to lower the prices back to normal?" No, they're not going to do that.
Oh, yeah. Well, so Mike, tell me this, because I've had this happen before to clients. So if there's a foul smell, what should I do if there's a foul smell in my drains? I should shower if there's a foul smell.
A foul smell? I mean, first of all, you could start off by brushing your teeth, I guess. No. A lot of times the foul smell will be from bacteria in the trap. A trap is like a U in all the drains. And what that is the trap is there to prevent the sewer gases from coming back into the house.
So what does one do? Call a plumber. This is a foul smell.
Well, no. There's a lot of
pour bleach in there.
You can pour bleach in the trap, but there's also other factors. If it's a tanked water heater, the anode rod could be deteriorated, and what that is, it's a rod. It's a rod in there that they're either made out of magnesium or aluminum, and a lot of times you'll see the anode rod go bad. And it'll cause a foul odor smell, like a sulfur smell in the water.
Yeah.
And most technicians, most companies don't know that. My extensive experience, you swap it out and it's gone. They'll try to sell you a new water heater. Again, I'll fix it if it's fixable.
No, that makes sense. How can I ensure that optimal indoor air quality in my house? Are there any specific air filtration systems that you recommend? What's your favorite one? Do you have a favorite?
I do.
Awesome.
I like April Air. It's what I got in my house. And April Air filters down to microns. I change the filter once a year. Some of them even, I think the model I have is from 99. It even kills bacteria because it's got little electrical rods that kill dust mites and things like that. Or you can go with a UV light. A UV light also, back years ago, the SARS virus in the Chinese tunnels was running rampant. Well, that was due to lack of air movement. And how they solved the problem was they put UV lights in the tunnels because the UV sunlight kills practically everything. I mean, it even kills COVID, they say. So people will put UV lights in the ducts.
Are you still an advisor to Dr. Oh, sugar. Who's the COVID doctor? Help me out, somebody. Fauci?
No, I'm just saying it's an actual fact. The sun is the best thing to kill any kind of viruses or bacteria.
That makes sense. Now, so here's some not so common but important questions, and I'm not quite sure if you'll know all these, but I'm going to just throw them at you. You know of any rebates or incentives available for homeowners who upgrade their HVAC systems or make energy-efficient plumbing improvements?
I do.
Yeah?
Yeah. The gas company will rebate if you go over to a tankless unit, some up to $1,000 on a brand new tankless water heater unit install.
And those tankless water heaters, $3,000. How much would it cost to have a?
Well, it depends.
I know it depends, but let's say
okay. Just say if I got to rip it out, if it's installed improperly and start from scratch.
No. I'm just saying if they have for example, if they have a regular water heater and they want to switch it to a tankless, it could $3,000, $5,000.
It all depends on the type of water tankless you put in, right? And it all depends on the install. Is the venting? Is it going to go out the side? Do I got to bring in?
What's the range?
It could range anywhere from $4,500 to $5,500.
Okay.
Again, it all depends on the size of the tankless, the install, and if I got to run a bigger gas line, because some of them, you can't use a 1/2-inch gas line. I see a lot of installs where they run the wrong gas line, so you're not getting the full potential out of the tankless. And we still have to circle back to that tankless with the glowing heat exchanger. Can I go back to that?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure. This is your show. So, I'm just sitting here.
So when I went out on the call initially, I talked to a gentleman that was there. He said 4 plumbers came out. We can't figure it out. They were on tech support with the manufacturer. And I said, okay. I said, can you turn on I went in the attic, turned on the tankless, and just something wasn't right. They ran a 1/2-inch water line to it instead of a 3/4. Water pressure was excessive. It was literally leaking water in the attic. It's a condensing tankless. What that means is condensing water, it's going to sweat. So it was just dripping all the water into the attic, which could have caused the stucco to collapse and mega amounts of mold that would have been, his insurance would have gotten canceled, right? So I had to correct that. And then someone had taken it apart to inspect it, and they damaged the seal, which was causing the heat to come out of the side. But my thing was, how did these plumbers or guys that came out didn't see that? And the guy that was there that was guiding me along said, they didn't open it like you. They didn't do all the testing that you did. They could have been fatal for my client and his tenant. And, he just told me, go ahead and do whatever it takes to get it right. And I did. Started from scratch.
So back to those rebates. So there's a $1,000 rebate from the state or federal government, or probably the state.
Gas company.
Gas company gives a $1,000 rebate to switch from into a tankless water heater to the best of your knowledge.
Yes, but there's preferences, right? If you have a family of 3 to 5, I'm going to recommend go tankless. What I don't like, there's good and bad to the tankless, okay? If it's just you and your wife, I don't think you need a tankless. I like the tank. It's tried and true. It's reliable.
You're tanked right now, aren't you?
That's right. I am.
Isaac will determine whether to edit that out or not.
And I can put anything in my home.
No, I meant you're tanked like you're drunk. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I know what you meant. But no, I wouldn't be drunk here. But I'm going to give you an example, okay? And people can figure it out for themselves. If we have a power outage, you can't have hot water if you go tankless. If you have an old school water heater, it's ran, there's no electricity to it. You have endless amount of water heater as long as you have gas. If there's an earthquake, you have 40 to 50 gallons of potable drinking water there if something happens to the water where there's no water coming to your house. So there's pros and cons. Are you going to save that much in gas going with a tankless? I don't know. It all depends on how many people are living in the home. You know, if you got 4 kids in the morning showering at the same time, well, yeah, you're going to want to go tankless because you're going to run out of hot water. But are you really going to save that much money? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, tell me, what are the risks associated with using chemical drain cleaners? Are there any safe alternatives or safer alternatives?
Yeah. Say an older home that's got cast iron sewer lines. I'm not going to name brands because I don't want to get sued. But drain cleaners deteriorate the cast iron, where they cause them to deteriorate.
What do you use, lemon instead? What is there a substitute that's safer?
A mild degreaser.
What you get from an auto store? Or?
You can get it at Costco or Sam's Club. You know, I throw degreasers even in my sewer lines, which are ABS, which are black plastic, the modern sewer lines. But on the cast iron, anything acidic it's iron, so it's going to deteriorate it and eat it.
So, are there any emerging technologies or trends that the heating and plumbing industry and homeowners should be aware of, which can enhance their home's comfort and efficiency?
Yeah. Due to the carbon issue, right? They're talking about high carbon in the environment and things of that nature. They want us to switch all our heating and air conditioning systems to heat pumps. And heat pumps are air conditioners that reverse themselves. So what that means is when you turn on your air conditioner in summer, the outside fan will have hot air coming out the fan.
Yeah, I felt it.
Cold inside. Well, heat pump has a valve that will switch. Now, in the wintertime, that cold air will come outside on the AC unit and the inside will be hot. It's carbonless. And if you need more heat, they put strip heaters in there with electricity. That's where the future is going to. So they've already put pressure on us to start putting that in. They gave us incentives too. They give contractors and homeowners up to $3,000 to push and install heat pumps.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You advocate for that? I mean not a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing. Maybe when I redo my house, I'm going to zone it and go with a heat pump. If you have solar, you have free heating now.
Makes sense.
So it all depends on what you want to do and how much money you want to spend. The future says we're going to go carbonless. That's why they're going tankless, less emissions. You know, the only time the burner is on when you use the hot water, as opposed to the burner will burn to heat up that 50-gallon tank. But again, there's pros and cons. I like the tank. I have one in my house.
It's a tankless job. Sorry. Well, tell our listeners, how could one get a hold of you if they want to have you come look at their house?
You can get a hold of me by emailing me at michaellunaplumbing@gmail.com, or you can just call me on my cell at 714-512-5735. Or you can go online and look me up, or even go to the Better Business Bureau. They were referring me a lot of business for a while.
All right.
Because I was A+ rated.
You like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but we were talking off camera or off video, and about how we first met. You were an 8th grader, and I was a first year at college, and I was a neonate at the junior high that we were at. We didn't really necessarily know it. We did know each other somewhat, but we didn't see each other for a long, long time. And then I discovered you doing this business, and you've helped out a lot of clients of mine and myself as well.
Right.
That was kind of an interesting story, I thought.
And years later, we're both entrepreneurs and doing pretty good. Grew up in Brea, you know. And
that's in Orange County, right?
That's in Orange County. Yeah, all of Orange County. But yeah, it's interesting how years later we're talking about this.
Yeah. Well, I hope people find this useful. I know obviously with all homes having all these appliances, they need to know how to save some money in doing this and repairing them and maintaining them to prevent from having to spend a lot of money. So thanks for listening, everybody. And if you have any questions, contact Mike or myself, and I can get you in touch with them as well. So, all right, we're off this episode of the Jones Zone. Thanks for listening. Take care.